Welcome back to round 11 of the 2015 North American World Championship Qualifier. In our round 11 feature match, we have Vincent Paglia, who previously was a runner-up at the World Championship, is dueling against Luka Soskic. Currently, Soskic has 26 points in the tournament, while Vincent Paglia has 27 points. So both of these duelists will be looking for a win here to help them secure a spot in the top 64. Both of them are also using a Nekroz deck, which is a match we actually have not featured on stream up to this point.
Not yet, and they're actually fairly different decks. Paglia running the Solemn Scoldings that many players have foregone over the past couple months.
Yes,
it's seen a bit of resurgence.
Soskic has opted to use 0 trap cards in his main deck, and is actually using 1 copy of a card we don't see very often in Nekroz decks, Nekroz of Decisive Armor.
Yeah, I think we saw that yesterday in Kinsley's deck.
Oh.
Because he was using Exa.
The one round. I didn't commentate.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
I haven't seen it in a while. He's also using DD Warrior Lady, which was popular at the initial inception of the Nekroz deck, but was recently replaced in most decks by Bullblader.
Paglia starts off by setting Torrential Tribute. Strong pick in this weekend's tournament, Torrential Tribute.
That's the third of Paglia's 3 trap cards in his main deck.
Made a lot of impact, even in matches that we've been watching.
Players signing up
yes.
for Attack of the
We saw a huge impact yesterday,
especially last night in the Clifford match.
Attack of the Giant card, and are in this line over here. I need you.
So Paglia activates Preparation of Rites.
Forward just a little bit. I don't want you to step out of your line. I want you to follow me if you are attacking the Giant card in line, please.
He adds Nekroz of Clausulus to his hand with the effective Preparation of Rites, and then discards his Nekroz of Clausulus to use its effect, and adding Nekroz Ritual Spell card to his hand. He's taking Nekroz Kaleidoscope.
And it's looking like Soskic passed his first turn.
Yes, it looks like Paglia said Torrential Tribute, then Soskic passed. And they play passed right back to Paglia.
Kaleidoscope comes down next. And Max C is activated over on Soskic's side. That'll get him a draw for every instance of special summoning. And Paglia knows it, so he's going to go 2 special summons for the price of 1, sending Shooting Quasar Dragon from his extra deck to the graveyard to put, how many points is that? 5,100 on the field. 23 for the Unicorn, 28 for the Valkyrus.
That's quite a bit of damage, and Soskic absorbs all of it. In main phase 2, it looks like Paglia is tributing his Valkyrus as well as his Unicorn to use his Valkyrus' effect and draw 2 cards from his deck.
Picked up a pair of Manju of the 10,000 hands.
That seems pretty good here because he hasn't normal summoned yet.
Correct.
He's vulnerable to Trishula anyway, right? Because that Torrential Tribute is face down.
For the moment,
So
there's actually a lot of things that he could do. For example, he could say summon the Manju and then Torrential his own Manju if he really wanted to clear out the field, because he's not normal summoned yet.
It also seems like it would be reasonable to just concede that he's vulnerable to Trishula and summon that Manju, not destroy it with Torrential.
It'll more than likely take more than 1 summon for Soskic to get to that Trishula in the first place.
Right.
So he has opportunities to use the Torrential and clear his own field out.
That is true. So he banishes a Ritual Spell card and a Nekroz monster from his graveyard to use the effect of his Ritual Spell card and add a new Nekroz Ritual Spell to his hand.
Manju is summoned up next. And he's going ahead and grabbing, looks like Brionac.
Why not?
Next to Brionac, always a safe choice. Lets you get any Nekroz monster from your deck when discarded. Use it to get a Valkyrus of his own. So now he can safely use that Torrential, clear his own field, and not be at risk of getting knocked out by damage.
All right, so he looks like he's passing his turn with a Manju on his field and a Torrential Tribute in his back row. And Soskic is up.
He's got a bunch of Ritual monsters and not a whole lot in the way of ability to play them.
Well, he has I believe he has a Manju in his hand.
Yeah, he does have a Manju, but his only Ritual spell right now is Kaleidoscope. And he's holding double Valkyrus, Gungnir, and Decisive Armor. So you'd have to go Manju into Brionac for Shuret to unclog this particular hand. Or I guess he could get yeah, he could get Unicorn off of this and then use the Kaleidoscope there to try to get another search.
Yeah. That might not be so bad here. Looks like that's the play he's opting to make. He searched his deck for Nekroz of Unicorn with the effect of his Mangju, and I think now we can expect to see him special summon it by activating that Kaleidoscope. And of course, in doing so, he'll be able to send Herald of the Arclight from his extra deck to his graveyard, which would activate its effect to give him one more search from his deck.
Activates Kaleidoscope next. And
it's possible he wants to send 12 stars to his graveyard.
I think he's thinking about it, but he's thought better of it and just goes with the Unicorn.
That would have actually been
disaster.
Catastrophic, yeah.
Absolute disaster.
He would have lost all 3 of his monsters to that Torrential Tribute.
And in a new chain afterwards, Herald of the Arclight activates. And he gets a reenact of his own. Now, the thing he has to watch out for here is that he doesn't have any more ritual spells right now.
He can get one, though. He can use the Breenact to get a Clausulus, and the Clausulus to get a ritual spell.
He can. But I don't know what exactly he'd plan on summoning with it.
That's the problem. Yeah, you're right. That wouldn't really get him anywhere. He doesn't have that Chariot.
4 attacks. Successfully. Manju attacks as well. No need to use the Valkyries yet. Paglia is sitting in a very good position right now. He's got that second Manju in his hand, along with Torrential Tribute set.
It's interesting that Paglia is using 3 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon in his main deck. I think a lot of duelists are using Mystical Space Typhoon in their Nekroz main decks, but many of them have also opted to cut it from their deck entirely because it's not very effective against the Nekroz matchup if your opponent is not using a lot of trap cards. Sasuke is using 0 trap cards, so that Mystical Space Typhoon is not very effective.
The level 4 monsters have been combined for Level Val Chain, and Nekroz Unicorn is attached from it to send Jin Releaser of Rituals to the graveyard. So that'll get him some more material for a ritual summon. Could, at this point, if he has Mirror, he could banish both the Unicorn and the Jin to summon that Gungnir.
He might be doing that. That would not be good for him because he'd fall into the Torrential Tribute.
Instead, it looks like he's going to go for Clausulus and Clausulus into Cycle and just do the standard play by banishing the Jin from the graveyard to summon Clausulus back.
I mean, that's equally unfortunate for Sasuke because he's still going to fall to the Torrential Tribute. And he doesn't have a card in his hand that can protect that Clausulus from destruction.
He's got Gungnir. Gungnir prevents destruction.
He does have Gungnir, you're right. So that actually could be game-breaking here. That might be exactly what he needed to turn this duel around. Did not see the Gungnir.
Now it's on Paglia to draw a way to get rid of that Clausulus. He's got Book of Moon, Book of Eclipse, Raigeki, and any reinforcement of the army could also get him Bullblader.
But currently,
his opponent would also have Valkyries in that case.
But it looks like currently none of those cards are in his hand. So suddenly his pretty good position has turned into having no live cards in his hand that can actually deal with that Nekroz of Clausulus summoned by a Jin.
Paglia places other Manju.
Most likely here he's going to search for a card that will help him thin his deck. to draw into those few outs that you mentioned earlier that can actually handle that Nekroz of Clausulus.
In a position where he doesn't necessarily have to get the Brionac, he can just get whatever the Brionac searches for, but by getting Brionac and then using Brionac to search for something else, that gets him one card closer to drawing one of the remaining ways to eliminate Clausulus.
Deck's looking a little thin, so his odds keep improving of drawing the card he needs, but he's not there yet.
One card set face down.
Interesting, he chose not to discard that Nekroz of Brionac within his deck of one more card. I guess he's saving it, hoping to draw that out he needs, and then to really capitalize on the Nekroz of Brionac to lead into an explosive turn.
Like he's got, yes, it's a Shuret in his hand as well. DD Warrior Lady is summoned and attacks into Manju, destroying it.
Paglia draws Nekroz of Trishula. It's another monster that can will only be summoned by special summon and is ineffective with Nekroz of Clausulus on the field. So it looks like he quickly passed his turn and now plays once again back to Sasuke.
This is a situation where, like, once you've turned things around with the Jin, you kind of want to end the duel as quickly as possible before your opponent gets a chance to draw into another one of those cards.
Right.
But the interesting thing is that since Torrential Tribute was the mass removal card that he saw, there's a chance that Soskik is wondering if maybe he's got Mirror Force too.
Yeah, I mean, it is possible.
Highly unlikely.
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen a Nekroz player play it, but you never know.
Yeah, but even if that is Mirror Force, it wouldn't be that devastating since it wouldn't be able to destroy the Clausulus, which is in defense mode.
But it could still take out a lot of other monsters that he put.
Yes, it would definitely.
Time and effort into
it would definitely
summoning.
Set Sasuke back and give Paglia more time to draw the card he needs to get rid of Nekroz of Clausulus.
Sitting at 5,600 life points right now, and he does have Valkyris still, so he can last for a while.
Yes.
Nekroz Mirror is activated and tributed to summon Nekroz of Decisive Armor, whose on-field effect lets you destroy set cards and banish them.
Oh, that's actually going to come in handy here. I mean, it's not particularly useful since Paglia's mystical face-down card is Mystical Space Typhoon, which actually can't hit. Well, could hit cards in Sasuke's deck if you were to set a spell card, but is generally ineffective since you run 0 trap cards. But now, what's important is Sasuke knows that card is not a Mirror Force.
Valkyris is used to end this battle phase as the massive Nekroz of Decisive Armor turns those 2 level 4 monsters into enough damage to win.
Yes.
And so Brionac is banished from the graveyard to pay for that.
So Paglia is going to need a top deck here. It looks like he doesn't even have another Valkyris, does he?
Nope, he just played his Valkyris.
Yeah, so...
But he's got the Brionac that he held on to last time around.
So he can get another Valkyris to survive another turn if this is not the turn that he draws.
Oh, he's also got Unicorn, so he can just pick it back up. So he's got some time.
Okay.
But if he doesn't get to it before he has to expend all the cards in his graveyard...
Yeah, then it's too late.
Yeah. Main phase 2 uses the Manju and DD Warrior Lady.
You see Daigusto Emerald here?
Yep,
Yeah.
use Daigusto. Shuffle back 3 monsters from the graveyard to the deck to draw 1 card. He's actually got 2 extra deck monsters in his graveyard, so he only actually needs to put 1 card back into his deck if he wants to. And he's going to recycle both Brionacs, always useful, and a Unicorn. 3 cards that he would probably be pretty happy to pick up off this draw.
Yeah, all of those seem like they would be very good draws.
Draws 1.
Reinforcement of the army. Not a bad draw itself.
And plays back to Paglia.
Paglia
Just
draws.
picked up the Book of Eclipse.
So that was one of the answers he was waiting for. Is it too late, though? That's the question. I don't think
it is. He's got plenty of fuel for the fire.
Yeah, so he can turn all of Sasuke's monsters face down, and what's important about that is with Nekroz of Clausulus face down, it will no longer prevent him from special summoning any monsters.
Everything goes face down, and now Paglia is tasked with clearing Sasuke's field this turn to make sure none of those monsters flip face up and result in extra card drawing. He's got Shuret in hand, along with, looks like a Kaleidoscope. So we could start with the Kaleidoscope into Unicore for a search. Starts off with Kaleidoscope.
It looks like that's going to be the play here.
There goes Herald of the Arclight. Unicore drops. Its 2,300 attack points are not enough to defeat Clausulus, but they are enough to defeat Decisive Armor, I believe. Everything's got, oh no, it's exactly 2,300. Trishul is the one with 2,000 defense. That's right. Of course, the statistics of any specifically named card are considered public knowledge. You can't ask what is the defense of your face-down monster, but you can ask what is the printed defense of Nekroz of Decisive Armor. Picks up a Nekroz cycle. Cycle is activated. Looks like he's going to go ahead and tribute his Shuret for this.
What will he be summoning?
Well, he's got the Trishula in hand. He could also grab a Valkyris back from the graveyard.
Yeah. Seems like the Trishula would be a good play here.
I think you go Valkyris first, and then try to get a Nekroz Mirror to banish the Shuret later on in the turn to summon the Trishula. Because you can get all three. But you can only get the Valkyris back with the cycle.
Okay, yeah. He has Nekroz of Reenact in his hand. You're right. So he can still summon that Trishula.
So he gets a Warrior off of Shuret, and he gets any off of Reenact.
Yeah. So that looks like the best play to me, and the play he's making. So that was a quick change in fortune here. That Book of Eclipse really turned the duel around.
It seems like he might have been out of Warriors. So he had to go and get go and get Unicore with Brionac, and then use Unicore to bring back Clausulus so that he could go find that mirror. Banishes his own Shuret to pay for the mirror. Banishes his opponent's Shuret with his Trishula. And now he's going to see if he can take out a Valkyris from Sasuke's hand. The other important thing to note here is that he's now cleared out his own field, or rather his own hand, so he's not vulnerable to a Trishula in return.
So it looks like he's probably going to keep all of those monsters on his field after destroying all of Sasuke's.
If he can destroy all of Sasuke's, if I remember correctly, there's still a Valkyris in Sasuke's hand.
Oh, you're right.
He attacks the face down.
So that Valkyris is huge because he can actually also stop his own monsters from flipping face up.
Right.
So that'll give him some draws with Book of Eclipse.
Valkyris stops him. And now he's considering what to do. He tributes both Trishula and Valkyris. Comes up with 2 spell cards, which he could immediately get out of his hand. But his opponent is still going to get 2 cards.
Yeah. Yeah, and that Gusto Emerald face down. That'll give him another card on his next turn.
Yep, yet another one.
Yeah. So he was in good shape even before drawing 2 cards. Now he's in great shape.
Sosuke considers his options now a lot greater than they were previously, thanks to getting 2 extra draws from Book of Eclipse. During the end phase, your opponent's monsters are flipped back face up into face up defense position, and your opponent gets to draw 1 card for each. That's really what keeps Book of Eclipse out of competition the vast majority of the time.
So now with that Book of Moon gone as a result of Decisive Armor's effect, Paglia is left with only a Nekroz Mirror face down and a Nekroz of Unicorn on his field. So things are looking pretty dire for him right now.
Senju with 1,000 Hands, summon, picks up Nekroz of Unicorn for Lucas Sosuke.
Over by the smoothie booth. If you can head that direction, that is your 3v3 tournament.
And he activates his own Nekroz Kaleidoscope. And now he's going to drop 12 stars worth of monsters.
What is that fusion monster?
That is Barbaroid, the ultimate battle machine.
I have never seen that used as the 12-star monster. It's usually Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon. But they all do the same thing in the Nekroz extra deck.
They get sent to the graveyard for Kaleidoscope. That's another way that a lot of duelists can add a little bit of their personal style to their Nekroz deck. As we know, Keener last round, he enjoys Dragon Master Knight as his level 12 fusion monster. What is, oh, Paglia has Shooting Quasar Dragon.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a fusion monster, it just has to be 12 stars. And with that, Sosuke is able to take the first game on the back of a huge Jin release of Rituals that helped him to turn around a game in which he was quickly bolted with a lot of damage.
Yeah, he was behind for a while. And then once he landed that Djinn on the field, the monster summoned by Djinn on the field, he was able to turn it around, take the win. And now Paglia must decide whether to go first or second. But I think we can safely predict that he would choose to go second.
In general, you'll go second.
What's more interesting is which cards they're going to move into their main deck from their side deck.
Most likely, I think we'll see the Droll and Lockbird from Paglia, especially now that he knows that his opponent is running Max C.
Yes.
We might actually see the Durandal Droll and Lockbird combo that we've been talking about yesterday.
That's possible. He also has 2 copies of Mistake, 3 Royal Decree, 1 Vanity's Emptiness, 1 Breakthrough Skill, 1 Fairy Wind.
And I think you go
Nice Hands.
I think you go Breakthrough and Vanity. Breakthrough and Vanity sound good here.
Vanity certainly sounds good.
I don't know about.
What about Mistake?
See, that's the thing.
I want to say no because of how much he searches, but on the other hand, why is it in his side deck if he's not going to put it in against the deck it's most effective against?
Yeah, I think it might just be a case of rolling dice and hoping that you can get all of your searches going first and then have it and flip it.
So it seems fairly likely to me that he will include the Mistake just by it being in the side deck.
I always worry about doing stuff like that. I don't think I could play it.
It's very risky.
Then again, I have played Light Imprisoning Mirror Index where all the monsters are light. But that is because the effects I need to work contiguous.
Yeah, so that works. Yeah, it's risky here. Sometimes you gotta take big chances to make it to the World Championship.
Yep, and Paglia has done it before. Maybe he can do it again.
So Sasuke's side deck includes Breakthrough Skill, Zephyr Saber, Swordmaster of the Nekroz.
Zephyr Saber not really useful here since there's not a lot of spell blocking.
Yeah, 3 Mystical Space Typhoon, 3 Typhoon, 2 Denko Sekka, 1 Torrential Tribute, 2 copies of Artifact Lancia, and 1 Vanity's Emptiness. The Artifact Lancias are probably coming in.
Yes, the Emptiness probably going in as well since he's likely to be forced to go first.
And maybe Torrential Tribute.
Yeah.
We saw it work.
I'd throw in Torrential.
We saw it work well for Paglia. Do you think Nekroz of Decisive Armor will be coming out? Do you think that's a card that players exclude from their deck because it doesn't have as much impact in the Nekroz mirror match?
I'm not entirely certain why they stopped including it. I never got a solid answer from people on what that was. I think it just got phased out. Like when Dance Princess got phased out and they ran out of monsters that they could summon and use it on. Nekroz of Decisive Armor was next because you don't really need its attack boosting effect on most of your monsters. So it's, I mean, it's just interesting to see that it's back in general.
Yeah.
I'm not entirely certain what led to the return of Decisive Armor.
Also worth noting, and something I actually didn't realize initially, is that Sasuke is using 3 copies of Shared Ride in his main deck.
Yes.
So
we saw that with Kinsley yesterday as well.
He didn't draw any of those in his first duel, but I think it's safe to say he'll be leaving those in, since this is the matchup.
Those and Max C.
Yeah, since this is the matchup, it's one of the best in. And also, since he's most likely going to be forced to go first by Paglia, Shared Ride is particularly effective.
Oh, but Paglia goes first himself. Starts with Nekroz of Brionac.
I just saw the mistake.
Oh, did he side it in?
He did.
That would be a reason to go first.
So that also, yeah, so he did side them in. He went for the high risk, high reward side decking strategy. And chose to go first, perhaps because he thought maybe I can use all my search effects and set a mistake.
Is the one that has trap cards in his deck.
Yeah, so so it makes more sense for him to go first, as for Sasuke to choose to go first.
Kaleidoscope is activated, sending Herald of the Arclight to the graveyard, and Unicorn is summoned. Herald of the Arclight searches for a ritual monster or spell. And it's Nekroz of Valkyris. Nekroz Cycle is activated next, tributing the Shuret to summon the Valkyris. It's a search of a warrior type monster, warrior type ritual, Nekroz ritual monster.
He decides to take Nekroz of Trishula and add it to his hand. Looks like he'll probably be tributing his monsters, right?
Yeah.
As is, he's incredibly vulnerable to Trishula. And fairly defenseless.
Activates it, tributing both Trishula and Unicorn, leaving Valkyris on the field.
Interesting.
Sets 2. Leaving a oh, he picked up a Valkyris.
Now, if he gets hit by Nekroz of Trishula here...
Yeah, that's basically it.
That's the end. He'll lose the Valkyris in his hand, the Valkyris on the field, and either the Book of Moon or the ritual spell card. Yeah, so he really needs to cross his fingers here and hope for the best.
Yeah, I think the Shuret goes from the graveyard. Real tough thing about that is he's gone through a lot of his deck in that first turn, but he still started out with fewer cards than he began with.
Yeah.
Manju is normal summoned.
Plus Sasuke gets the extra card from going second.
Nekroz of Unicorn is chosen. Presumably he didn't have Mistake. Wouldn't he have used it?
No,
One of his face downs was Mistake?
He didn't draw a Mistake.
Oh, he didn't
but
draw,
I
okay.
saw the 2 copies while he was going through his
while
deck.
he's searching his deck. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Manju gets Klauslith, which in turn gets Nekroz Cycle.
Yes. Yeah. His 2 back rows are Book of Moon and a ritual spell card. I think
That's
Cycle.
right.
So.
That's right. We saw him draw those off of Valkyris.
So here comes Nekroz Kaleidoscope.
Scope is used to summon Unicorn, and that'll send Herald of the Arclight to the graveyard and give him another search. Kaleidoscope goes to the graveyard, and he quickly checks his own hand. He's still got Gungnir in there, Shared Ride, Torrential Tribute, and Cycle. And he gives a quick check of Paglia's graveyard as he digs into his deck for a search.
Lucky for Paglia, it doesn't look like he has any way to summon Trishula this turn. Do you see any? Short of a draw with Augusto Emerald, which would be a bit of a long shot.
Not there yet. He can definitely get, say, a Shurit into the graveyard, but he wouldn't have the mirror to banish for it yet unless he crashed his monster into Valkyris. So yeah, I guess there is a way. But it would involve sending Shurit to the graveyard with Lava Val Chain and successfully crashing his own monster into Nekroz of Valkyris, and then banishing to get the mirror from his deck once everything is clear.
That could be done. I mean, Paglia could block the attack, but...
Right. Skosik instead goes for number 80, Rhapsody and Berserk, and that is immediately turned face down by Book of Moon before it can banish any of the good stuff from Paglia's graveyard. 2 cards face down.
Ah.
Suddenly, so don't look quite so bad.
Yeah, Paglia was very vulnerable there, but somehow avoided the pain.
Reinforcement of the army is activated.
Shared Ride is
the Shared Ride. That's going to give Lucas Oskik a draw for every card added from Paglia's deck, or graveyard, I believe, to his hand this turn.
So he searches for Shurit, activates Nekroz Cycle.
And yes, that is the case. It counts every time your opponent adds cards from their deck or graveyard to their hand this turn, other than card drawing effects.
And now it's Paglia's turn to summon a Nekroz of Trishula. He was able to summon before Sasuke.
But he's going to run straight into Torrential Tribute there.
So that Torrential Tribute is really good. So it clears the field. Paglia will still be able to use Trishula's effect, right?
Yes, but he has to banish
still
Torrential.
Technically on the field.
Yeah.
Then he gets to use the Strategist's effect to search his deck for a card to add to his hand, but Shared Ride is still in effect. So Sasuke does get to draw a card out of that.
Right.
So this long exchange of plays actually worked out very well for Sasuke.
Sasuke loses Nekroz of Gungnir from his hand, along with a ritual spell, Kaleidoscope, from his graveyard, and the Torrential Tribute that was still on the field, while Paglia gets Nekroz of Brionac out of his deck and puts it in his hand. Now he's got Valkyris and Brionac, and he can start searching for ritual spells, since he's got a clear field. Oskik is up.
That was Nekroz Mirror.
Is Mirror the one that got banished? Oh no, he drew Nekroz.
Yeah, he drew one.
Okay.
It's like he has a banished Kaleidoscope.
Send You of the Thousand Hands is normal summon. That'll go get Soskik a ritual monster from his deck.
All right, players who are in line, just so that you understand, attack of the giant card is a line on my right that I'm pointing at. The line for all other events is on my left with my judge in the air.
Soskik is doing a little bit of quick math as he's pulling Nekroz's Brionac out of his deck. And he immediately pitches it to get Shurit.
Does Paglia have a Nekroz Valkyris in his hand?
He does.
Does Sasuke know that Paglia has a Nekroz Valkyris in his hand?
I don't believe he does, because it was a card drawn from the first Valkyris.
Okay, so he might be shooting for the 8,000 points of damage here. I don't know if he can get there even.
Cycle is used to bring back Nekroz of Unicorn, but tributing what? I couldn't tell you. Oh no, it's the Shurit. And that goes and gets the other Brionac from the deck. Second there, I thought he tried to tribute itself to summon itself, which you cannot do. Nekroz Mirror is up next, banishing that Shurit. Summons his own Valkyris.
It's a lot of damage, but it's not 8,000.
Attacks with Senju. And Paglia considers his options before deciding to take the damage. Quick count, that's what, 6,500? It's
Looks
not
correct to
8,000.
me. Yep.
So take it.
It's also not 7,200.
Right.
Which would leave Paglia vulnerable to a Gaga Cowboy. So he couldn't get to the 8,000. Instead, he attacks for as much damage as he can do, 6,500. And then it looks like he's combining his monsters. But what will he be XC summoning?
He could go for a Daigusto Emerald play here to get a draw out of that, and then 2 more off of his monsters. But instead, he's going for Chain. Chain detaches to send. Artifact Lancia.
Probably to the
Oh,
top
it's
of
probably
his
going to put it
deck.
on top of his deck and then draw it with Valkyris.
That seems like a wise play. Yeah, I guess
That'll make him pretty much completely safe.
Yeah. Or he puts it... yeah. Looked like he was putting it in his graveyard, but that wouldn't make any sense. So, puts it on top of his deck. I like
Chain
that.
And DD Warrior Lady.
So he tributes those 2 monsters to draw 2 cards with Valkyris, including the Lancia. And he doesn't have to worry about Trishula because we know he has the Lancia in hand. So he's able to keep the Valkyris on the field.
So Paglia goes ahead and is declaring his phases to see when Sasuke is going to use the Lancia, and he does it during the standby phase.
Is there any reason to do that? Instead of waiting for Paglia to activate a card and chain it to that card effect?
Because Paglia, as the turn player, gets the first right to do anything that he's legally allowed to do once main phase 1 begins.
Oh, I guess the ritual spell cards in his graveyard are cards that he would want to banish.
As
Okay,
a cost.
so yeah. So you would want to stop preempt that. Yes, that makes sense. I was thinking Trishula's effect, Nekroz Mirror, but I forgot.
Right. Sasuke just wants to try to skip Paglia's turn entirely.
That makes sense here in this particular situation.
Brionac discarded for Paglia. Grabs Nekroz of Unicorn. Unicorn's added to the hand, and because the Lancia is in play, Paglia's Mirror cannot banish monsters from the graveyard.
So Paglia does have another Nekroz Valkyris in his hand, so it looks like Sasuke won't be able to win this turn unless he draws another Lancia.
If he can, say, get his Gungnir back.
That's true.
From the, oh no, it's banished. It's not not in the graveyard. That was probably got banished.
I guess there are ways around, but I don't see any here.
He gets a second attacker and has Book of Moon. that would do it.
Yeah. Does he have Book? No, he doesn't have Book of Moon, though, right? He has Shared Ride.
Soskik goes ahead and tributes away his Valkyros to draw a card. All he actually needs to hit with is a Senju or Manju. Paglia's only got 1,400 life points left. And he banishes a cycle and a monster for another cycle. And banishes another ritual spell and Nekroz of Unicorn to get Nekroz Kaleidoscope. And I don't believe Soskik is playing any of the methods to retrieve banished Nekroz monsters. No, he's not. Manju is normal summoned.
Did he not? Was he unable to find anything to add to his hand?
Unlikely. I'm pretty sure I saw a blue card.
Seems very unlikely. I think I saw a Colossalus. No, I guess he was just deciding and shuffling while he was deciding.
Gets back into his deck and picks Nekroz of Unicorn.
Time was called.
Yes, and at that point,
so
time was called in their round. You might have heard an announcement earlier, but our match, of course, has time extension due to the time it takes to get from your table up to this table, get everything set up, etc.
Okay, so after time was called, he wanted to reconsider what he's going to take with Manju. So he plays down his deck.
Kaleidoscope is activated, and he's in a pretty good situation as far as time goes.
He's in a great situation.
I don't see it being particularly likely that he's going to somehow lose a 6,600 point lead in the next 5 turns.
Yeah. Seems very unlikely, and more likely than not, he'll actually be able to win in these next 5 turns.
If he can just get 2 turns of Gaga Cowboy,
yeah,
he'll do it.
And that seems fairly likely. Paglia will have to use his Nekroz and Valkyros this turn to survive.
Yes, there's no choice.
So after that, he's going to be down to only 2 cards. It looks like a Nekroz Mirror and a Nekroz of Unicorn. And he's really going to be relying on some good top decks.
Manju attacks, and Valkyros is activated. Banishing Nekroz of Brionac. Soskik sets 1 face down, combines his 2 monsters. And goes for Abyss Dweller. That's interesting, but what that will do is stop Paglia from searching with his ritual spells anyways.
From his graveyard.
Correct.
So that's what he's trying to lock down here. Doesn't seem bad. Seems especially good since we just saw that Paglia drew another Nekroz Mirror, right? So there's not much he can do.
To pick back up. Trishula has got another Shared Ride, which will get him a draw. Now Nekroz Mirror is activated. Abyss Dweller doesn't stop you from banishing, so Shurit can in fact do its thing. And he drops Trishula on Soskik.
Yeah, so the Trishula is pretty good, but I don't think it's anything that Soskik can't recover from.
Abyss Dweller is banished. And he's taking a very careful look at how many ritual spells have been played so far. There are 3 banished currently, and a 4th one is joining it. That makes both copies of Nekroz Kaleidoscope. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Ritual spells gone, and a Nekroz of Brionac banished from the hand as well. And suddenly Paglia thinks, I actually might have a shot here. Especially if he can get through with this 2,700 damage from Trishula. I'm not seeing any more ritual spells in Soskik's graveyard. So that would mean 4 with a possible 2 more hiding in the deck somewhere.
Yeah.
Clauselus is activated, And this is where the decisive armor would come in super handy,
Yeah, that would be really good here.
because you can take out the face down card just in case and outmuscle Trishula at the same time.
But really, the Nekroz Valkyries in his hand is going to do the job, or is able to do the job, since we know the face down card is not a trap card that he cares about.
He just needs the tributes for it.
Yeah, and the Nekroz of Trishula is weaker than the Valkyries. But you're right. The issue here is he's going to needs to be able to summon it. So, taking a look at that.
And for the you can't actually use another Nekroz of Valkyries for this. It is disallowed
Right.
by the card text. So that's one face down, and that's all. Second attack from Nekroz Trishula is blocked by Valkyries.
Yes. So it looks like Sasuke is no longer trying to bring Paglia's life points to 0. He's just trying to secure his own life points so that in the final turn of time, he will have more life points than Paglia.
It appears that Paglia does get the last turn here.
Yeah, this looks like the last turn, but Sasuke had 2 Nekroz of Valkyries, so he ended Paglia's battle phase prematurely on the last turn and can do it again.
Ooh, mirrors activated. Vanity's emptiness is chained. Trishula attacks. He used the second Valkyries. And I believe that's going to do it.
Yes,
it does.
Lucas Sasuke wins 2-0 against World Championship runner-up Vincent Paglia, and is now moving on in the tournament with 29 points.
And if either of them needed this one more than the other, it was absolutely Sasuke, who was down a point on Paglia and playing up.
Yes, that's correct. Vincent Paglia, even with this loss, has 27 points.
And if he can win this last one, he should be in. But Sasuke really, really needed this one and really needed to not take another draw in the tournament.
So we're going to take a break now until the next round starts. We're going to show
last round of Swiss to go.
We're going to show a replay of the Pegasus Challenge, one of the most exciting